All right, all right. That was a little short review we just did before this guy. I do a short live review before I go on with Malt Muser here. We're going to be taking a look at the Balvenie 12-year-old single barrel. Courtesy of him, we've been sharing some drams and doing joint reviews together, so that should be fun. I started out with the Taninic 10 Flora and Fauna bottle, but not up there with the Blair Athels and the Ben Rennis's and the Inchgowers and the Daluanes and etc. This one is just not my cup of tea. It's for people that really like more of a low-level fruit, higher on the savory bitterness, and I mean, there's a lot going on, but it's very abrasive taste-wise to me. It makes me cringe every time I think about. I guess because it's just overly lemony on the nose, and it's overly mineral minty with a slight smoke and cream on the palate. It's a Highland. Maybe that's, I mean, I've had some really good Highlands before, but there are a few that are definitely more on the bitter edge, and it's just not my cup of tea on that one. But hopefully someone has had the Taninic 17. I'd love to be able to talk about that maybe a little bit tonight. I know Dustin has had it. Hopefully he'll stop by and we'll be able to discuss that a little bit in comparison. And then hopefully he can tell me if he's ever had this one. The reviews across the board are usually pretty low on this, so thankfully I'm not the only one that this has been affected. This Balvenie 12 we're about to look at, I kind of did a glance. I don't want to read reviews to be like influenced by tasting notes and things like that, or even influenced if it's going to be good or bad. But just like a rough glance, and it looked like it was very mixed. So people really love it or hate it, and so I'm really looking forward to sitting down with Malt to check out that. I poured it out a little bit ago, so I could at least have it sit out for 12 minutes. I usually go a minute per year on the, if it's a 12-year-old, I'll do it for 12 minutes at least, 15 minutes on a 15-year-old, etc. It's just my own little thing I try to do. Let me get this ready for Walt when he comes. I got to send him a little invite to the old thing, and I forgot to do it right before I went on. So sorry about getting your old face for a second here. There we go. Anyway, but really looking forward to doing an in-depth look at this. I've had Balvenies before. I've had really, really high-end ones, and I've had some entry-level ones, and I've pleasantly been surprised by most in a good way. I've only had one that really disappointed me, and I'll get to that more with Muse when he stops by. Hey, Steven, good to see you. Ben, Peter, Andrew, wow, you guys are across the board. Just opened up a Balvenie Tune 1401 Batch 3 last week. I've been lucky enough to have a taste of a tune, and I'm trying to remember if it was 1401 or 15 something. I'll have to go back and look, but I got a story about that I'll share with you guys. It wasn't done in the most pleasant environment, so I think that might have affected my taste overall on that. But if you haven't checked out the short reviews, I know a lot of you guys are big on the live discussions, especially when I've got malt on. But on the side, I typically try to do some whiskeys that are a little more obscure, or a little off the beaten path. Even if it's not your thing, hopefully you get a little something out of it. So definitely check out the short reviews on the side. They're in, I know there's at least 20 to 30 of them sitting out there already, and I try to do one before the live show tonight. So hopefully doing some of these off to the side will help out some of you newcomers to the game. This is definitely not something that a lot of these veterans are going to pick up, but if you're online and looking around and you're thinking, I might want to try a Highland, and Diageo has a lot of good whiskey out there, it'll at least give you a heads up of what you're about to get. And if you're a big lemon fan, and you like a little bit of bitterness in your dram, then this might be right up your alley. So it definitely pays to check out the short reviews on the side. Here's somebody new. Hey, good to see you, Cohen. I don't think I've seen you before. Welcome to the channel, either way, if you've been a lurker or if you've Been here for a while. Santa Cruzin, always good to see you, man. It's been a while. I'm glad that you were able to stop by. That's for sure. There's Mr. Dustin. I was just talking about you, man. Let me know what you think and feel about the Tenninic 17 that you reviewed. I know you gave it like a 0.75, which is pretty bad. Have you ever had the 10, and was the 10 a lot worse, or was it any better than the 17? Because I only gave this one a 2.5, and for me, that's pretty damn low for a score. So this is the Flora and Fauna 10. I'm about to finish it up, and I was going to go through a whole spiel on sherry, but I thought I'd save that for the discussion review. He hates that whiskey. Hasn't had the 10. Well, you're probably not missing much on the 10 either. It sounds like if you get a chance, Dustin, check out my short review I did a little bit earlier on it and see if there's any similar notes that you got out of it. I'll go over a little bit with Mr. Crazy here.
Hey.
Mr. Crazy, what's up?
How's it going?
Oh, I was just hanging out a little bit with the Tenninic 10 Flora and Fauna. And this,
10. Another of the Diageo Flora and Faunas.
Yeah, but this is not a good one, man. The Blair Athol was good. The Daluane, the Inchgower, the Ben Rennes, those are all solid. This guy was like a 2.5 out of 5, and for me, that's pretty low for a score.
Ooh, wow, yeah. You usually don't dip down into that range too much.
No, it calls for it, and this one called for it.
Well, that's a bummer, man. What was what's the profile on that? To be honest, I don't think I've heard of Tenninic.
It's funny.
Those funky distilleries that you get your hands on that it's not quite had.
It's funny. I had to go to our friend Aquavite Roy to get the proper pronunciation. I always called it Tenninic, and lucky for me, I found his how to pronunciate videos.
Yeah.
He goes Tenninic. It's the emphasis on that second syllable. I'm like, oh, I learned something. That's cool. But it's rough. It's the nose was lemon meringue right off the bat, and I'm not a big lemon fan. Honeysuckle, lilacs, and a ton of light florals. Very pithy and oily. Subtle woodiness, vanilla, ginger, lemon, tea, white grapes on the nose. The palate gets really delicate. It's only 43%. It's a 10-year. It's got some slight honey, sourdough, slight mineral, mint, a really light smoke and cream. The finish is long. It's buttery, and it's got some honey on it, but it's got a lot of orange, pithy marmalade. And the water didn't really help it much. It brought some of the spices and the up on the palate and the grassy notes up on the nose, but it's primarily used in Johnny Walker blends. And if you've ever had red, this is what you primarily, I think, get out of the red versus some of the other ones. So that tells you something. Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't sound like the most delightful thing in the world.
It wasn't. I didn't spend a whole lot of money, thankfully, on it. But for the money, if you get a Flora and Fauna bottle, definitely get the other ones I mentioned, and not that one unless you're doing it for the overall collection, of the as a whole deal. So
okay, well, good to know. I'll probably steer clear of that. I probably will anyways, but
yeah, you'd have to order it online if you were. It's just good to know, like, if you are a new whiskey drinker, because these Flora and Fauna bottlings are pretty popular, and especially some of the dead ones, like Little Mill's got a really beautiful one, Rosebank, Pittivac. Some of these really good distilleries have some good Flora and Fauna bottles, but some of them you definitely need to steer away from. What about you? What you been up to lately as far as anything you've been tasting recently or posting up?
Oh, yeah, tonight I got to taste a sample of the Springbank 21.
Damn, dude. Oh, my God. Did it blow your socks off, or were you kind of like, eh?
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't like mind-blowingly good, but I do have a little bit more I want to get into on it. It was just really nice. I'll be honest. It was just really nice to taste a Springbank that was that old. I've just never had a Springbank at that age. It still retains a bit of that funk, a bit of that mustiness, which is, of course, one of the things that I love about Springbank. So that was really tasty. It was, pretty delicate, muted on the nose, had a good amount of spice on the palate, a lot of pepper.
What was the ABV on that one?
46%.
It's not bad for a 21-year-old.
I'm not sure. I mean, there's probably batch variation. I know they only do a couple thousand bottles of it every year. So
do you know what years yours was from?
Oh, okay. No, I don't. So he sent it over to me. Let me see if he wrote it down on here or not. No, he didn't. I could probably ask him. I got it sent to me from a good friend of the show, Whiskey Pilgrim. I'll see if he knows what year it was. But I mean, all in all, it was quite tasty.
It's really tough. Like, I've been interested in bottling codes recently where some distilleries are really good about it. Like Ardbeg has an L, and then if you get your little trusty flashlight out and you do a little digging on the bottom, you can get the years out that way. But with this guy, even I can get an L code on it, and it just gives me 52530. I want to say like a QQQ or a 000. But it's without knowing how the codes translate, it's really hard to get a year off that. But sometimes you get lucky enough to, and some of it, like a Springbank fan might have posted. That's how I found the Ardbeg stuff. Is I researched like Ardbeg bottling codes, and someone actually dedicated a website just to telling you how to figure out years off of it. So if you get the buddy to tell you if there's a code on it, you might be able to find the year out that way. But
sure. I'll ask him.
It's like Dustin saying you can get the year off the colors sometimes. Anything?
It's a little bit on the lighter side. It's kind of more on the it looks similar to the 10 in a way, even though this has sherry in it. It's kind of more of that kind of lighter gold straw color. I'm not sure if that's helpful, Dustin.
Gotcha. Let's say Donner's had the Signatory Unchilled Filtered Collection, 10 and Nick 10, 46. They have a bunch of the F&F bottles, but more natural and cheaper. Interesting. Was that any good, Donner? I'm just curious if you liked it or disliked it. What was your feeling off of it? Just puts a bottle date on it. Okay. Well, hopefully he can tell you.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question, man. I'll actually check with I'll check with Pilgrim and see if I'm sure he still has the bottle of it.
He sure has sherry because that sounds like 2018, which was rum and bourbon, maybe. Did you detect any rum notes off of it at all?
Not really. Honestly, it was much more of the bourbon note. I did get some of the. I mean, I think there was definitely sherry in this because there were some darker fruit notes in it for sure. But that, it's more like the sherry in the sense where it kind of was a bit on the drier side, more of the dried fruit thing. So we'll see. I'll definitely ask him and see if he knows which year it was.
Speaking of Springbank, I'm not sure I guess it's like that with a lot of their stuff because they're really good about their craft, but the only bad thing about really being great about your craft is losing the consistency of what you're developing, and you do have a lot of batch variations and whatnot. I'm wondering if anyone else had I think it's the 18 is the one that's up and down where people don't like it as much as some other ones, or it might be the 15. It's either the 15 or the 18 that gets some really widely mixed reviews, I've noticed. Do you know which one it is by chance?
You're talking, that's the 18.
Is it the 18 that's the varied one? Yeah, that's the one that you never know what you're going to get until you but it's a good point. Maybe we should start looking at years a little closer and bring our flashlights into the store just to make a certain thing before we purchase it, or even maybe ask the guys online, hey, can you tell me what the bottle code is on it? Maybe it'll help you. Peter says it's the 18 on that as well.
More on the controversial side, right?
Yeah, it was definitely more controversial than the other ones I was
just because of the price. It was just kind of too pricey, and I had heard enough mixed reviews that I kind of laid off.
Yeah, the DHS is right. I thought it was the 15 for a bit because that was the one that I was kind of like, I'm not quite sure if I like this as much as the 10 or the 12 cast strength. I don't think I did, but it's probably similar. Some of these distilleries have these dead zones where they got a great 12 and 15 year almost, and then they have like a 18 and 21 that's not so good. Then they pick it back up in the 25 area. It's weird how that happens sometimes on some distilleries,
Yeah, I have some 2016 releases of the Springbank 15 which I really like. I really like the cast strength. Obviously, there's a lot of batch variation with that, but I don't think I've had one that I didn't like. And it's been so long since I've had the 10, but I remember enjoying the 10.
One thing I will say before we move on is on this Tenenek, even though I'm not a huge fan, for things like this, I thought, it'd be kind of nice just to have a bottle of sherry, a PX bottle and an Oloroso bottle, and maybe do like a little bit in a dram to see if it really helps some of these 2.5-star drams, just for fun of it. So I've done this before many times, and it does work. It does help. The key is you got to be really careful about how much you add, and we're talking eye drop size stuff because sherry's pretty strong if you've ever played with it.
No, I haven't played with it much, but yeah, you definitely want to be pretty delicate with it. But you're talking about just adding a drop or two to one of those grams and see what happens.
The Tenenek 10, since I'm not a huge fan, I've got some Oloroso sherry here. It's just a loose style. It's not a crazy bottle. You can get them for $20 or something. They're not crazy expensive. This is the Oloroso. They have a PX version. With this, I'm thinking Oloroso would probably go the best because the PX stuff you'd only want to use maybe like some peated stuff. PX doesn't really go with a whole lot of stuff as much as Oloroso to me. And it really does help it a bit with the taste and even the nose. I mean, it's not near as good as if they do all the maturation or the the cask deal helping it along. But if you have a way that makes it a little better sipping, then why not do it? Is way I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on, man. Well, don't send me a sample of that.
I will not. No, this was one I thought I better do a quick review before the heel's gone because I was down to getting close to the end.
You put a hell of a dent in that. How long have you had that bottle?
I've had it for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I knew it was bad up in the neck pour, and I knew it was bad when I got down there. And then I thought, well, I'll give it I give it a lot of chances. I'll try it multiple times, and oxidation. I can't even say it. Oxidation didn't help, and I mean, I tried everything: water, without water. The only thing that helps this is a little dash of Oloroso sherry, I'd say.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting, man. That could be a lot of fun. Just experiment with, I mean, there's endless amounts of fun you can have with this kind of stuff, and that's part of the joy of the journey.
Yeah, you just got to be really careful about how much you add. 'Cause even though I'm usually good about doing a little tip of a bottle because I've played around with it enough, but I even put too much in that time.
Yeah, I'm going to do a king size pour because I had about 2 drams left of this Balvenie single barrel. So I got it sitting in the glass, and we can dive right into this when you're ready.
Yeah, I pre-poured some to let it sit out for at least 12, 15 minutes beforehand. So yeah, we are good to start nosing.
All right, man. Well, let's set the table. So, as you all know, Telex and I have been getting some samples in each other's hands, stuff we haven't tasted that for the most part, and trying some new things each week now. And so this week we're checking out. This is the Balvenie, 12 years old, single barrel. Just as I was showing on the happy hour, there's just so much writing on this bottle, man. Look at this. I mean, they tell you everything you'd probably ever really want to know, and then maybe even more than that about their, which I got to commend them for. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that they go this far. This is 47.8% ABV. It is first fill ex-bourbon, non-chill filtered, which they say explicitly on the tube. Unsure about color, but I think it's probably natural color. Here's what the bottle looks like. Again, classic Balvenie bottle, which presentation-wise I just really like. I think Balvenie's bottles look really great. What does it say on here? So this is cast number 2132, bottle 262. Unclear what year this is from. Probably maybe a year or two old. First fill ex-bourbon, so on and so forth. Speyside single malt. They don't say anything explicit about color, but I want to say it's pretty likely this is natural color.
I was going to say, yeah, it doesn't look like, if they did bother making it for consistency, they were very light-handed on the coloring, if there's any in it.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I mean, I do think it's really cool how much information they give you on this bottle or on this tube. This is just something you don't see. I mean, they go into like each part of the barrel I mean, you could learn a lot if you don't know, if you're just like learning about whiskey, you could learn a lot just reading one of these Balvenie bottles. But that is the tail of the tape, as it were, for this Balvenie single barrel 12-year. This is, I don't know if this would be described as core range, but I do know that they release this, I think, once annually, if I'm not mistaken. They also do a single barrel 15, which is cherry. I was chatting about that earlier.
I love that one, man.
You've had that? Okay, I'd love to get my hands on that. But
you do yourself a favor, and definitely as just an off purchase when you feel like having another Balvenie, make that your next one, man, because that one is one of the best sherry scotches I think I've ever had. It's that good.
Man, that's really great to know. Somebody else was mentioning how much they wanted that. I got to put that one on my list. So yeah, before we get into those, here's a quick look at the color.
Oh man, I like that nose already. I like that. It's definitely more of a bourbon than a sherry by far.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll hand it over to you if you want to kind of go through the nose on your end, and then I can share a couple notes, and then we'll give this a good taste.
Oh man, it's a really nice collection of fruit off the get-go, and it's not just your really light stuff or your medium red ones. It's a combination of both. I got everything from strawberries up to like the citrusy ones like oranges, all the way up to like white grapes.
Yeah.
Really nice bouquet of florals that balance well with it too. There's a nice sweetness that goes along.
Yeah.
Damn, I like that. It doesn't really have any smoke, but it doesn't need any smoke or anything like that in it. It's very trying to see if I get any maritime or anything like that from it. Not quite yet. It's just very nice, in your face, medium to light fruit so far. Maybe some straw hay kind of thing in the back too.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting about what I get. My nose on this, not as much red fruit. It's more bright apple. There's some pear. I get the orange for sure. There's a little bit of like maybe pineapple or just kind of generic tropical fruit, which I can't quite put my finger on. A little bit of grassiness, and then honey, vanilla. Very sweet, fresh, very fresh.
Yeah, it's on the lighter. It's a very delicate nose, but it's probably because it's the 12-year. But the fruits are definitely in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm getting more of the red fruits than I am the tropical. But I see what you're saying. They are there. It almost reminds me of like a ballblair, a good ballblair nose in a way.
Oh, that's tasty.
Nice cherries in there.
Yeah, interesting. I don't quite get the reds, but I think I can see what you're saying.
Palate's got a bit of a spicy pepper. I'm trying to decide if I think it's black or white or maybe a combination of both even.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both, which is really nice.
Yeah. The palate on this is where I think this one I think people can split. It's not quite what you'd expect. For me, sweet, bitter, sour. There is the bitter note, I think, is what is most interesting on this. There's also just like slight alcohol astringency, and then I get a nice kind of mocha chocolate, some kind of more acidic fruit, vanilla, barley sugar. Which goes into like a medium finish for me. Again, that kind of sweet acidicness is there. Honey, ginger, mint.
Yeah, it's funny because as soon as you said honey, ginger, mint, I'm like, bam! All three of those hit me on the back of the palate. I get a nice big waft of juicy fruit gum with a bit of black pepper on the side. That's nice, especially for a 12-year. It's definitely it's not as bitter that some of the 12-year-olds you would get out of the bitter note out of it, which I'm thankful it's not overly bitter. It's kind of like just got enough to make it balanced with the sweetness and even some savory notes on the palate. That spice is lovely. I know some people don't like a lot of spice, but
Yeah.
this has definitely got a kick on the white and black pepper on the spice, I think.
Yeah, I'm curious how much, like you said you're getting pepper. Did you get that kind of bitter note, that bitter sour?
Yeah, it's funny because it's between the fruits and the sweetness and the caramel flavor. Then it comes that bitter like area, and then the spice like sandwiches it together for me. So the bitterness it's very slight, and it's only enough to make it well balanced to me. I don't dislike it. Hmm. It's kind of I'm not sure how to
White
to
chocolate too. White chocolate.
yeah, on the finish there's a lot of white chocolate. Yeah. I'm not sure how to describe that bitter note though. It's not. It's so subtle. In maybe like I wonder if it's like an herb or something. I'm trying to think of anything that would remind me of that. You definitely don't get it on the nose. It's only on the palate.
Mm. Man,
it's not leather. Maybe it's like a tea bag or something.
Interesting. Yeah. Man, the finish on this just goes longer than you would think. White chocolate, dark chocolate, slight acidity, which is almost like a citrus. Again, that like little bit of bitter. A whiskey that I think this is somewhat comparable to, especially on the finish, is Craig Ellicky 13.
Yeah, it does remind me a bit of that because of the spice level.
Yeah.
I might like. It's tough if I had to pick one that I like more. The Balvenie I respect because they're not afraid to give you some sweetness with your spice, and I'm not a sweet head, but I do like a sweet dram. So to me, the sweetness is what was really lacking on that Tannic 10, which I do enjoy a lot about this Balvenie. So, And I love the fact that you don't get a lot of wood from this too, because I don't like it like the 12 double wood. I'm not a fan at all of the Balvenie 12 double wood because of the overly woody oaky factor to it to me.
Oh, I quite liked the 12 Balvenie double wood. I mean, I don't. It's been a long time since I've had it, so I don't really remember. But
I do love the 17 double wood though. I think once the years have that wood tamed a little bit, it makes more sense to me. But I love the fact this is like perfect for people that don't like a real oaky or triple wood type whiskey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. This, do you want to go into your kind of final thoughts first, or I can give you mine and you can kind of let me know what you think. You're in experimentation mode, which is a good sign.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm going to add a couple of drops just to see if it changes.
Yeah, so here's the thing, man. I don't know how much. I mean, of course, there's going to be batch variation with a single barrel, single cask. Here's what it looks like again. I'm going to tell you right now. This is a $75 to $80 bottle. I think this is really good. It's challenging. It's got kind of a throwback flavor to what you'd expect from like a kind of older style of Scotch or something like that. Like it's not trying to play nice necessarily. It showcases its complexity and its diversity, especially when you get that sour bitter note. It's almost like saying, hey, this is not a starter whiskey maybe necessarily, but it's at a good price. I think $75, $80 for a single cask 12-year-old is totally reasonable. And with what you're getting with this, the uniqueness, the complexity, if you're somebody who likes Balvenie, like double wood necessarily, like this is one when you kind of are more like been on your journey for a little bit. This is a challenging and really rewarding whiskey, man. This is a straight up 4 out of 5 for me. Like I think when you take price into consideration and like how enjoyable it is to explore, you can learn a lot from this whiskey. And I know I did. I just, man, this is nothing to sneeze at. I think this is one of the better 12-year-olds I've ever had. And so I'm in high praise. This is like in the, on my scale, which is including price, of course, this is 4 out of 5 for me.
I'm not disputing that. I'm trying to decide on what I would give it. The only difference between Malt and I on our scores usually is that he values he puts the value as part of his scoring system more than I do. But I see where you're going with that, because for what you're getting price wise, it's very well done. It doesn't really affect the water. Didn't really affect the nose. I still get a lot of fruit up front, and on the palate, I still get kind of the similar, and I still get a little spice. And usually, adding a couple of drops of water boosts the spice up. But I didn't get that. Let me try it one more time just to make sure.
One of the things I really like about the spicy nature of this, on the palate, it's like spice, bitter, but then it doesn't. The spice bitter doesn't hang on long. It's there. It pops you, and then this like creamy white chocolate, salted caramel, vanilla just kind of rides you out as that fades. It's just such a nice experience where like you're like, oh, and then you can kind of like it eases on the palate. You get a little bit more out of it. I just, man, there's just some things going on with this that, again, I don't think it's a star. Like I don't think it's like the first Balvenie anybody should buy. But I think if you've had a few, and again, Craig Ellicky 13 comes to mind as like something that I think is somewhat comparable in terms of like kind of getting that bitter, savory, somewhat sour note. I think there's a lot going on here, man. And yeah, high praise from me.
Yeah, I think after the water, the palate finally got more of like a sweet cinnamon, spicy, almost like a red chili bit to it, which I do enjoy. I'm just trying to think if I thought I would go as far as a 4. I might not go that high, but I would go 3.75 out of 5. I think it's one of the best 12-year-olds I've had in a while. And I love the fact that they're not afraid of the spice factor, and they're not afraid to put a lot of sweetness into it. If you do like a sweet dram, I think this would be definitely right up your alley. The only thing that makes me drop it down to 3.75 to me, it might be a little one-dimensional as far as not having the water might not add a ton of stuff to it. But with a 12-year-old, you can't really expect that from a 12-year-old, no matter how you look at it. So I think it's a really good. I think you were honest, because if I was doing value as part of the score, I would boost it up to a 4. So I think that's about right for.
Yeah, I just put a little bit of water on it for good measure, and I'll tell you the nose is the same. Again, if anything, that like bitter sour note is more prominent. Again, it's acidic fruit, and keep in mind this is all supposedly first fill ex-bourbon, so. Not, there's no sherry in this. There's nothing else. There's no European oak, but there's a lot of spice for what you would think. I mean, when I think back to like other first fill bourbon whiskeys, you just the level of spice here, man.
It is. It's really surprising how much spice they can get into this guy, because I thought it was going to be a nice, just run of the mill 12-year-old with some nice ex-bourbon notes like a fruit and whatnot, but it does have a lot more going for it. But that's why I boosted it up, because at first I thought 3.5, and I thought, that it does have a lot of character, and it's got a lot of
yeah.
If you like spice, as far as if you're not afraid of that as part of your dram, you're going to really like it. It definitely has really well balanced too overall.
Right, and I think the thing about it, man, is like this is a whiskey that's not going to like break your wallet. I mean, which is something that, we talk about a lot, and like, especially for folks who are kind of like getting out of the intro range stuff on their journey and want to try some things that are going to be a little more challenging and complex, man, this is a great place to start. And even if, whether you're a bourbon fan and are looking for some of those classic bourbon notes in a whiskey, or something that's just going to bring you a bit more challenge and a bit more like to explore. I mean, this is on the short list of those intermediate level whiskeys for me as being just quality and value. Great stuff.
Definitely. I'm looking at trying to get into their stupid site, where I wanted to see, because you had a good question about, is this part of their core, or is it like a special thing? And I'm just going to log in.
I mean, it's not exclusive. It wasn't like a one and done thing, but it definitely, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you'd say it's core or not, but it's not exclusive. I know that.
I'm looking to see what they have on their regular site, just for giggles.
There's some reminders of like Glenmorangie and like just kind of the core Glenmorangie stuff in this too.
Wow, they have a lot of different listings on their. let's look at the range here. Looks like the 12 double wood, the 14 Caribbean, the 17 double, the 21 Portwood, the 30, the 40, the 50, the American Oak, and the Peat Week. Wow, they have a lot. Single barrel 15 they have as far as their thing. I guess you would consider it part of their regular core line because they do have it as far as I don't know. It's a tough one because they have all their stuff's kind of combined together.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Let's go to the core. Sorry, it's
so much stuff. Yeah.
No, it's their core is just the Doublewood 12, the Caribbean 14, the Doublewood 17, the Portwood, the 30, the 40, but they consider it as part of like their outside the core. But this like you said, it shouldn't be that hard to find because it's not like it's a official release or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the fruit in Balvenie. That's one of my favorite things I run into when I try that distillery is the level of fruit. They're not afraid of that. Kind of reminds me of a Glendronach without the heavy sherry notes on it. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I've had the Balvenies I like, even though I wasn't a big fan of the 12 double wood, I do like the 17 double wood. I think because, like I said, the time brought the oaky factor down a bit, but they also have a really good travel retail exclusive option called the triple cask.
I've seen that.
I was lucky enough to get the 16 triple cask, which is kind of like in the middle. They have a 12 and they have a Madeira as well. And the 16 triple was actually pretty tasty. I remember getting a buddy to pick me up a bottle when he went overseas, and it didn't take very long to go through the bottle, if you know what I mean.
That's always a good sign.
I'll have to go back and see if I could find I don't know if I've ever properly reviewed it or not, but if I did, it's probably on Distiller if you want to check it out. But
yeah, for sure.
Man.
Right on, man. Yeah, hey.
Were you ever lucky enough to get
I remember when I bought it, and I saw the first fill bourbon, and like I was really thinking about, a good scotch that I can share with people who are like big bourbon heads. I mean, and yeah, the bourbon notes are here, but again, you don't get the dark molasses, brown sugar stuff with this like you get with obviously drinking a corn bourbon, which is just, I mean, this is sweet, but even bourbons I think are mostly sweeter. I really appreciate kind of how bold they are with this, right? Like it's not quite as advertised for the like, the average person. You might just think, oh, I'm getting like a kind of a unique bourbon heavy single malt, and then you drink it, you're like, whoa, there's this like weird bitter citrus thing. It's like, what's going on?
It's awesome though. I really like this. The more I'm drinking it, the more I like it.
It's surprisingly good. And again, it comes in at a good price. I mean, so for folks in the chat who are like, kind of in that looking for something that's going to be a bit challenging on the palate, not going to break your bank, but still is coming with age statement, non-chill filtered, about 46 or over. I mean, man.
You nailed it with the comparison with a bourbon versus this. This is more, it feels more refined and well balanced than a real thick molassesy bourbon like, would.
I mean, the other Balvenie that I spent a lot of time with, which I ended up really enjoying, was the Caribbean cask, but I think this blows up the water.
I was going to ask you what other Balvenies you've had. I do like the 14 a lot, but this does, excuse me, it's tough because I like both. If I'm in the mood for more tropical fruit, I might go Caribbean.
Right.
If I want a straightforward great bourbon cask whiskey, this is a hell of a lot better than a lot of other ones I've had. And I'm even thinking of like Lagavulin 8.
It's like a Scotch drinker's. It's like a Scotch drinker's heavily bourbon influenced whiskey for someone who's not necessarily into bourbon, which is part of the reason why I was adamant about bottling this for you, because I know you're not a big bourbon guy, and I thought, this is going to be one where like you're going to get some of the interesting scope of or range of Scotch flavor, but also like has that kind of nucleus of bourbon. Like really quite a remarkable whiskey at 12 years old. I don't know. I think it's quite good. I mean, it's on my list to buy another bottle of. This is one I want to have around.
Yeah, it's funny because it definitely doesn't have anything thick or it's funny when I compare it to like a Augustoshan 3 wood. I like the Balvenie better. When I think of like Even like Lagavulin 8, which is a straightforward bourbon and it has some heat in it, I still even like this one better than Lagavulin 8. So it's it is a well done one, man. I wish I had more. I already drank all mine.
Yeah, I just topped out the bottle, man. In fact, I should probably just do the final couple drops. But this one's on my list again. And like, I mean, presentation obviously doesn't drive purchases for most of us who are like kind of in that area of where we know better. But I'm sorry, man. The Balvenie presentation, these bottles just look freaking great, don't they? I mean, their bottles look good. Their labels are like clean. They got a nice kind of font, everything about it. And I'm not a big Balvenie guy. I mean, most of their stuff is not, I don't go rushing out to see Balvenie releases or anything like that. But boy, I am not, I'm gonna die on the hill of the Balvenie single barrel. And we'll be checking out that 15 single barrel sherry because, man, sounds like it's worth it based on everything I've heard. Brandon, enjoy this one with you, man. This was fun.
Have you been lucky enough to get your hands on a tune before?
No.
I was only time I ran into one, I was at an expo, which is not the best place to try some of these whiskeys, even if it's the only place you can get your hands on one. And this is what really actually turned me off of expos. I waited and got in, and as soon as they opened up, I went straight to the VIP ones that I wanted to hit. I had a list of what I wanted to look at, and the Balvenie tune was one of them. And I think it was the 1403 that Stephen was talking about. If it wasn't that, it was a 15 something. But either way, it's a $300 and something bottle. That's the first thing. That's
right.
Crazy, right? So I get up there, and I swear to God, this is not even like a half hour after they opened the damn thing. I get up there, and they run out of it like right after I get a sample. I was like, wow. So I had the bottom of the barrel of the bottle that they brought with them. And it was okay, but I wouldn't have paid $300 plus for that bottle. There's no way. I mean, it was okay, but this to me had more character and more, overall, good taste than that one did. And I'm sure I missed a lot of the subtleties trying to do it at an expo. But when you charge people $350 to get into one of these things, and you don't have enough to even make it a half hour.
Yeah, man, you're right to still be salty about that. That sucks.
That kind of sucked. But I would like to sit down.
We're talking about Balvenie. We're talking about like prices of some of this stuff. I got to ask you, man, have you, or you mean, and this is a good question for anybody in the chat. Has anybody messed around and decided to throw down on that Balvenie 21 Portwood? And if so, what were your impressions? Now, I'll tell you what I thought initially. My first thought was like, oh, that's exciting. I'm not a huge port fan, but I'm still trying to still taste port, wine, finished stuff and see if my palate picks up things that I end up really liking. But for the most part, I find it kind of cloying, kind of like I get kind of that Robitussin cherry note. But the thing about the 21 is it's 40% ABV. And they're charging upwards of $200, and so that threw me off. It made me hesitate on buying it, and it just honestly seemed like kind of a like you to people who are into older whiskey to like pay that much for something that's only 40% ABV. I felt like that was a little, that made it a hard no for me, but. I'm still, of course, interested in trying it. I don't know, And so I'd love to hear. I see that DH still said it's okay, a bit thin. Cohen says 21 is good but pricey. Santa Cruz and should be higher than that at that price. That's the thing, right? I mean, for folks if you're going to spend that kind of money on a whiskey at 21 years old, I mean, for $30 less on average, you can get the Glengoyne 21. Which is 43%. Still not ideal, but come on, right? I mean, what were they thinking with 40% ABV? I mean, is this just we're going to try and flood the market as much as we can, sell as much of this? It was like just some batch they didn't really like. I mean, I don't know what the logic is of that.
I'll tell you,
it's like they're kind of like taking people for fools. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that it's really tough for any distillery, with this regarding the Scotch, to pull off a really good port whiskey. Like the Glendronach one, the peated portwood. I was not a huge fan. It took like 45 minutes to open. The only port wood based whiskeys that I ever really liked was the Lafroig, the port Carriages one from like 2013, and the Brodier, which is another one that they did that was port. But it's really hard to find. I think the Springbank had the 19-year-old port cask was a good one, but it's really hard to find a well done. And you're right. Unless you get that ABV up to 46, 48%, why even freaking bother? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like a little bit of a. It just seemed kind of like, man, like
Yeah.
Who are they trying to sell that to? A 21-year-old, you're talking almost a $200 whiskey. You're trying to sell this to people who appreciate a 21-year whiskey. I mean, I understand that Balvenie has a big name, and it's because a lot of folks, the Balvenie 12 is a really accessible, good intro Scotch, and I'm not going to, I agree with that. But like, do you really have the brand name to be like throwing around a 21-year-old at 40% like that, and like expecting folks who have, relatively discernible palate to jump all over it just because it's got a port finish? I don't know, man. That's strange.
They're not Macallan, but they do have a name, but it's kind of, it's not quite Macallan yet. Stephen was saying I had the 1509, I said the 1401. That batch 3 tuned 1401 is Sublime, not exactly my wheelhouse, but I see the greatness. Okay. Yeah, I think it was a 15 instead of a 1401, but man, for all the hoopla that they went into that, it was sad that they didn't even bring enough to get people a taste of that paid so much money to get in. But yeah, most 21-year-old whiskeys are sold to doctors and lawyers. It seems like that's probably true. But that's the thing is, I mean, we can save our money and shell out for a 21. I was thinking of getting the Auchentoshan 21 and maybe like an Altmore 21. Possibly in the next month or so, but my only kind of hesitation was the Auchentoshan 21 doesn't really do that great on reviews across the board. It's kind of one of those hit and miss whiskeys. So I don't know. It's a sad because I'm trying to get like a year that it hit everyone pretty evenly, and 21 is almost affordable in some of them not so much, especially when you get to like the Macallans and the Balvenies and whatnot. But
yeah. Well, when we do our next sample swap, I do have a 21 to send you, this is the Highland Park 21.
Ooh, nice.
Release of the new one, which I think you'll really like. This one's 46%. I mean, clearly they're marketing this to Game of Thrones fans or Vikings who may exist outside of their ostentatious over-the-top marketing. There's some good juice in here. I'll definitely put this one on the list for you next time, and we can talk a bit about that one.
That'd be cool. I'm thinking that if I got a Auchentoshan 21 and an Altmore 21, would that be like?
Yeah, I'd be interested, man. We could do a couple. We could do a month of 21s.
We'll try at least.
Wow.
It's tough because like I think the Auchentoshan was like 2 something, like a little bit around 2, and the Altmore was like 230. So we're talking like 430 after it's all said and done. It's like, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? But I might have to splurge a little and see what I can get. Cause it's sad because I like the Auchentoshan 3 wood, but that's the only one other than maybe the American Oak the 12 year. The 12 year I like, and the 3 wood. I haven't had any of the other ones yet, and I always wanted to get like a higher end Auchentoshan. You guys in the field, let me know if you were going to get an Auchentoshan that's not the 3 wood or the American Oak or the 12. What would you recommend as far as a higher end year? And same with the Altmore. I've had the 18 and liked it.
Yeah, I recall that.
Didn't blow me away. I mean, I think I gave it like a 3.5, but I'd like to see a 21 to see if it blows me away or if it's worth the hype. As far as that distillery gets a lot of love from some of these guys I've noticed. trying to think of what I should pour. I think I might pour a little of that old Aaron 21 that we looked at a little while back.
I'm going to pour, just to book on this, I'm going to go into peat. I'm going to do Kilkerran peat in progress batch 1, heavily peated.
Oh, you bastard. That's the only Kilkerran I haven't had yet.
All right, well, I'll put it on the list for you the next time we do this.
Nice.
I still got a little bit left. If I don't kill this tonight, which I won't, I'll sample it after this.
That's cool because that is one. I've had the 8 cast strength, which I do love, the 12, which I do love, the sherry wood cast strength work in progress. I like that one a lot as well. And the bourbon was the cast strength work in progress. And then I had the sherry wood work in progress as well. All 4 bottles were pretty good, I have to say. I heard mixed reviews on the heavily peated, so I'm interested to see what you think of it.
Well, I gave this. I'd have to look back at my review. I reviewed it a long time ago. I gave this a maybe 3.75 out of 5. I mean, it's very youthful, but it's really good for a youthful heavily peated Scotch. I would sing the praises of it, man. It's delicious.
Does it have that Campbelltown funk kind of?
Yeah. There's a little bit of it in there, man. I mean, you just. That's, again, one of the things I feel like you have to add 0.5 to any score just because of that, because it's so good.
Well, Steven's like, don't even go to Akatosh and try before you buy. Yeah.
I don't disagree. I had a Akatosh at a bar. Again, it was a 12-year-old. It was 40%. It was one of the most, it was Dalmore level with the amount of color. I don't know enough about Akatosh. I'd be interested in trying. Any 21 I'd be interested in trying. But
yeah, it looks like.
I don't know how much I'd pay for it, but.
Yeah, Gary agrees with Steve, and that's the thing. It's like my goal was to as a collector, it was to get like one really good bottle, a distillery bottle from every one of them eventually. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go Akatoshan, I might as well go, pretty much to some of the best that they have that's affordable. But if the 21 and a 200 is not even that great, it's like, man, I hate to blow $200 on a bottle that I'm not even going to like. It's kind of sad.
No, man. And then with prices going up the way they are, it's like you got to be even more discerning.
I do like the 12 and the American Oak and the 3-wood, though, because I do like a sweeter dram. They are on the sweeter side. The mouth coat, I'm sure, is probably on the thin side, being triple distilled and all that. But I'm wondering if it's worth a go at all. But maybe I'll put it on the back burner and look for other distilleries first, and then get that one last or something maybe.
Yeah, man. And eventually, like we've been saying, Telex and I are gonna continue doing these weekly tastings as part of the show, where we'll taste the whiskey together and all that. We have a couple left that we have in each other's hands that maybe in a couple minutes we'll go through the list and take a vote, see what folks have to say about which ones we should do next. But part of that also includes us looking at getting some kind of introductory range bottles to kind of go back to the roots and taste some of the stuff that we haven't had in a long time, and then also looking for some high-end stuff where we can really challenge our palate. So we're gonna have a lot of fun stuff going on over the as we continue doing this show, and it'll be a whole range of different things we'll taste. 1 week we might do a Glenfiddich 12, and the next week we might do a Glenfiddich 30. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. And that's the thing. Like some of you guys I know that are veterans, you're probably not looking for a review on a Glenfiddich 12, for example. But if you were going to get some of your buddies that were getting into, well, we'll say they're into Scotch, but they're not quite sure where to go. What are some of the really good basic entry-level Scotches that you would like to see reviewed? Let us know in the comments when you get a chance, because we have been talking about kind of going back and forth, like he said, with some of the higher end stuff versus some of the easier to pick up things. Because we get people across the board that come watch us that are they're bourbon drinkers that haven't gotten really into Scotch yet, that need to know where to start. So let us know what you think.
Honestly, it'll be fun. I mean, for me personally, I know Telex, you and I have talked about this too. Where we at in our range? I mean, you're probably a couple years ahead of me in terms of the development of your Scotch palate, but at the same time, it's going to be fun to go back to some of those whiskeys that like we tried real early in the journey and like be able to see what we can find in them, pick out a little bit more of those notes, share it with folks. Definitely give recommendations to people who are just getting into Scotch. You know, we want to make sure that, you know, we don't get into some like bourgeois country club kind of mentality about it. You know, at the end of the day, you know, there's good whiskey at all prices and all ranges.
I only drink with my little pinky sticking out.
Yeah, I'll get my monocle. I'll put my monocle on when we do the 30-year-olds. But, you know, we definitely want to, like, you know, not just for the sake of the folks watching, but honestly for our own sake. Like, it's just going to be fun. Like, there's a lot of good whiskey that we're probably, like, we don't remember how much we enjoyed it because it's just not stuff we've picked up in so long. And so it'll be fun to get back to some of those whiskeys. And so, yeah, hit us up in the chat. Let us know. You know, when you're looking at intro level scotches, the kind of stuff you would recommend, just, you know, the kind of stuff you would recommend to like the new folks that you're trying to get into single malts, you know, what would you say? I mean, what would be the ones that would be fun to do a little tasting on? And we'll definitely take that into our consideration as we go along here, man. It'll be a lot of fun.
And there's going to be a lot of, I think, happenings where we try something that we used to love, and then we realize this is not quite good as I remember.
Yeah.
That happened to me recently with I tried a Bowmore Darkest 15, and I tried like some of the thinner ones, like the Bowmore 18, some of the like the Glenfarclases, the ones that I started my journey with, and gave them, I think, a little bit of a higher score than I would now coming back to it. So that's another really good reason, I think, to do a re-review of some of these classic ones.
And the other thing is, like, yeah, to Matt and 12. I mean, the other thing we might do is, you know, look for a way to do like, there you go. There's a bunch of good ones. Good recommendations, Gary. And the other thing we could probably do is do like, you know, two in one session. Maybe we'll do like something younger and something older or something like that, you know, and just kind of revisit some of the old stuff that we haven't had in a while and try some things that'll challenge us, you know. It's all about the fun in the chat. So whatever you guys are interested in, man, we're game for that. It'll be a lot of fun.
This is funny because this brings up the Doris Moore. It's also known as the Tempest for guys overseas in the UK and Europe. But that's the only Bowmore distillery bottle that I actually have liked so far. I've had the small batch and the 12 and the 15 and the 18, and they're really thin usually. But that Doris Moore is I had the third batch, I think I want to say it was, or second. I can't remember. It was either second or third, and that was a really good bottle of Bowmore and from the distillery. It was a higher ABV, which helped a lot, but that's definitely one of my favorites too, Lost Cause, to be honest with you. It's too bad they don't have like a 21-year-old version of that, because that's the Bowmore bottle I need to get for myself if I'm going to get a higher end one. I mean, they have the Bowmore 18, and I've had it before. Do they have a Bowmore 21 or 25 that's affordable? That'd be a fun one to look at, I wonder.
Yeah, I'd love to maybe revisit Bowmore. I have a Bowmore 15 independent bottling. Could maybe check that out sometime.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I'm not opposed to independents. I don't buy them for myself just yet because I'm still trying to get the lay of the land with the regular distillery bottles. But yet, I know what you mean. Looks like
No.
Wow.
Nah, I can't do it, man. I will not pay $240 for that Macallan 18. It's a hard no.
When
you want to send us samples, bro, in which case, happy to do it.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember the show Community?
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy, Joe McKell, his character would always drink Macallan 18 wherever the fuck he went? It was always named some. If it wasn't Macallan 18, they paid to use that name. He was drinking some crazy Glen Deveris or Glen Worcestershire or some crazy off the wall 15-year-old. It was the weirdest thing ever. I just enjoyed watching that because he always drank Macallan 18.
Yeah, man. I'll be honest. I've never had it, and I'm not interested. But who knows? Maybe one of these days. Get it for $240. Yeah,
you really can't. You know how much it actually is right now? I don't
even want to know.
It's like $320, I think. It's something ridiculous amount. I was like, man, I thought a Dalmore 18 was bad when they shifted it up from like 160. Like 116, like 160, I was willing to pay for the Dalmore 18 only because I had it before and it was okay. And I thought, it'd be good to have it again at some point. And then when I saw they rose it to $220, I'm like, there's no freaking way. Insane.
Bourbon Bounty says MMWR is dragging me into the Scotch world. Yeah. Bourbon Bounty and I did a really fun bourbon chat on Sunday. If you go check it out, he knows a lot about bourbon. We had a great chat, and I am definitely pushing him on trying some scotches. And so think about him. What Scotch whiskeys would you want to put in front of a bourbon guy like our friend Bounty? And you'd say, these are some of the scotches you got to try to get into the ring.
Certainly not this one. Kenny's one of our buddies that lives also in Tennessee, and he's got an open one that, wow, man, if it's that bad, I won't even mess with Kenny on that one. Kenny sent some really nice stuff to me on the side, and I've got 4 really nice bottles, man. You gotta hear this real fast. Just out of the. I couldn't believe it. It's unreal what he sent, and I'm gonna do like maybe a little show on the side for him. But man, he sent like a Port Ellen. It's 1982. Yeah, I mean this is like crazy. He sent like a Ben Nevis 20-year-old single cask, an Ardbeg Alligator committee release, and a Ben Nevis 18. Man, like insane stuff. It made me say, "What?"
That sounds freaking great, man.
It is insane. So big props to Kenny on that. You have to tell him that I am internally in his debt, and if I ever open some of these nicer bottles up, I'll have to send him a sample. But the sad thing is that I haven't opened them up yet, so he'll get his just due when I get a chance. What about the Yama 18? Oh my God, that's definitely an overpriced Japanese whiskey if I ever saw one. Christ, man, that's insane. But yeah, I mean, if we do Macallan, which I do need to do it, like I've only done the classic cut, the edition 2, which I did enjoy. I've had my share of the 12 and the triple. I think it was like a triple cast 15. I haven't gone to the 18s or 21s because of the price, but if we ever do go there, man, I'll definitely take it up on my end to do the Macallan one. I might ask you to do the Dalmore though instead.
That would be, yeah, man. I wouldn't mind. Hey, we could revisit it, Dalmore.
He could take one for the team and do Macallan and I'll buy the Dalmore if that makes you feel better.
King Alexander or something. I don't know.
That's a good one, but if I got a Dalmore, man, I would just get the 18 because I remember having that at the Whiskey Fest, like an expo, and I tried the King Alexander. I already had the 15 and the 12, and when I had the 18, even though it is thin as hell and heavily colored, the profile itself was pretty good and a lot cheaper than that $300 bottle King Alexander. So I would go for the 18 if I was going to be forced at gunpoint to buy a bottle of Dalmore.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We got a Dram Bam. Thank you, man.
Hey, what's up?
Do you know this one?
I don't.
Oh, welcome either way. He's heavy as Texas. I like that insignia.
So real quick, we got a bunch of folks in the chat right now. We're at 20 folks. This is fucking great, man.
Cheers to you guys.
So here is let's just go to the quick rundown. We'll take a quick vote. We're gonna keep going. I mean, we're gonna go till 11. So, but I'm definitely gonna. Why don't we give? Here's what we have left of the ones that we've shared with each other for the tastings. So we have done Ardbeg Supernova. We have done Aaron 821 or 18.
21.
We did Aaron 21. We did Ardbeg Supernova. We've done Balvenie 12 single barrel, and we have done Ball Blair 1990. So here's what we got left, and definitely jump in the chat. Let us know which one you would like to see us do a tasting of next week. We have Ardbeg Blazda, Elisa Bay 1.2 Sweet Smoke, Lafroig single cask 12-year-old High Grove private release, and Port Charlotte MRC01.
Ooh, they all sound pretty good to me.
They sure do. So those are the ones that we got left. I'll repeat those one more time. Ardbeg Blazda, Elisa Bay 1.2 Sweet Smoke, Lafroig 12 Single Cask High Grove release and private release, and Port Charlotte MRC01. So let us know in the chat. We'll check out one of those next week for sure, and based on your vote, we'll follow your lead on that. I think those are fun releases that we still got left.
And two more that we've got definitely coming up at some point. We're not quite sure when, but we also have a Lafroig Carriages 2020 port wine cask. We both have our hands in that bottle, I think. You got yours already, right?
It's en route.
Oh, it's en route. Just got mine recently. He's got his coming, so we're going to do that new Lafroig Carriages 2020 port wine. I can't wait to open that one.
Oh, yeah.
And for both of us, I went ahead and got a Tamdu 15 bottle, which should be hopefully, up most people's alley. It's not like the highest end Tamdu you can get. The billiard dram is outstanding if you're looking for something like on the high end. It's really spicy though. If you're not a Spice Bomb fan, don't get the bottle. I'm telling you, it makes Kregeliki look like a cakewalk when it comes to spice. It's crazy spicy. But Tamdu doesn't really have a lot of really old bottles yet. Have you ever seen like an 18 or 21-year-old Tamdu? I have never seen one. Has anybody else seen one?
I have not.
I don't think they have one yet, but that 15, I have never tried it yet, and I'm curious to see, how it compares to the batches. I've had the batch 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're always pretty good. The one being the best, and of course, over time with batch variations, usually after you get to batch 2 or 3, it's kind of downhill from there. But
yeah.
I think it'll be a good one, and I'm thinking about I might hold off on the Akatoshi 21, but I think I will pull the trigger on the the Altmore 21, and I'll try to find us something else on the side for this next month to throw in and see if we can get something pretty cool on the side.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. So we got a bunch of folks jumping in, man, with votes on it. Juan, Andrew Page, both talking about that Lafroig. We got a bunch of folks with the Port Charlotte. Ben, Gary, Steven, Santa Cruz, and who else do we got in with that? Dram Bam, thank you, man. MRC01s.
I think the Port Charlotte's the way to go, it looks like, from what a lot of these guys
Maybe we'll do the Lafroig the week after, man. Or if we're feeling froggy, man, we could just do both of them the same night.
That's true. It's not like we have to wait.
Rules are able to be broken, right? And we don't have any rules, so
exactly. We could break our own rules if we want to as well, which is always nice.
I'll just show everybody for continuity's sake. Like this is the box that the High Grove Lafroig comes in. So what I've been able to ascertain about this, and I'll just show you the bottle of this. So this is it. This is the Lafroig single cask. This is it's 12 years old. It's 46%. So clearly, not a single cask in the sense of it's bottled at barrel strength or cask strength, but it is it's over 12 years old. And High Grove, from what I've been able to understand, is basically just some mom and pop shop in the UK that basically must have some deal with Lafroig where they buy a couple barrels and get to sell this in their shop, because I've never seen this anywhere else. And so quite a treat.
I'm surprised they take the time to give you a box like that. It's pretty damn nice for
right. I mean, when I saw a 12-year-old single cask Lafroig, I was like, yeah, I got to get that.
Hopefully the juice is as good as the box is. With DHS, he was surprised too. Fancy box for a 12-year.
Yeah, no, totally. I think this is like some type of thing. Yeah, I mean, the 46% was like, ooh, okay. Like they're clearly probably adding a little bit of, they're watering down these casks to some degree to part of whatever type of business deal this High Grove shop. And it's like a knickknack store, man. I was looking at it online. They have all sorts of stuff they sell there, but apparently they have some type of deal with Lafroig, where they get to do this. But in any event, I've tasted it a few weeks back, and it would be a lot of fun to do a live tasting on it.
Yeah, if you're willing to do that, then I'm sure it's got to be halfway decent. And for them to get a deal, Lafroig is no pushover when it comes to independent bottlings. They just don't let their shit go out. They don't let their stuff go out willy nilly. They usually have a lot of control over their.
Right. I mean, that boutique whiskey company, I think, has a Lafroig that they put out. I want to say it was like a 13 or 14 year. I can't quite remember. But there's one other independent bottler. I can't quite remember the name of offhand, but they've done Lafroigs too. But they're not something you see a lot.
Yeah, the only ones I see are the SMWS, the Scotch Malt Whisky Society does some, but you have to have a membership, and shipping is out the yin-yang and all that. The Chieftains has some really weird off-the-wall Lafroigs and Ardbegs even. Ardbeg isn't one of those you rarely ever see an independent bottling from. So Chieftains is one to look out for that. Exclusive Malts, I think, has them rarely, and their exclusive malts are not even around anymore. Blackadder might have some. It's a tough one. It's really hard to find. Adelphi, but the high-end independent bottlings is where I would stick with on that. Maybe Chapter 7, I think, has some. Oh, Signatory Vintage. He's right about that. I forgot about that. They're probably some of the best ones you could probably get from what I remember hearing about. I haven't tried any Lafroig independents, though, yet. It'll be my first one, so it'll be kind of fun.
Well, I hadn't either, so I saw it. I just had to pull the trigger.
Well, I take that back. I've had the SMWS stuff, but that's kind of like its own little niche market deal. I mean, they do great stuff, but you definitely have to pay to get your hands on some of that stuff.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Duncan Taylor. I'm trying to think if I've ever had a Duncan Taylor before. I'm trying to remember. I mean, I know the name. The name is definitely familiar, but I'm not sure if I have ever had. Have you ever had any of their offerings before?
I've not.
That's a tough one. Huh. I'm still sipping on this air, and it's still good even at the end of the bottle. What are you sipping on?
I am doing still some of that Kilkerran. Have you? Speaking of Aaron, and this might be one that we can do relatively soon. Have you seen this one? This is something I got relatively recently. The Bothy. Well, it was called the Bothy, but now it seems like they're more prominently calling it quarter cask the Bothy. This is natural cask strength, non-chill natural color, 46.2%. I'm
definitely interested in doing that one because that's part of their new bottling feature that they're doing, and that's a gorgeous deal. I mean, and they don't. That's not colored or chill filtered either. I don't think
it is not.
See, that's the way to do whiskey, and that's what I appreciate about this new Aaron stuff is they're really going for the craft and not putting all their money into like marketing and all that shit. They're just going with the whiskey, letting the whiskey speak for itself, and that's the way to do it, I'd say. Looks like Santa Cruz says he's seen some Alexander Murray Lafroig bottling.
Yeah, no, Santa Cruz, and you're totally right. I've seen some Alexander Murrays too, and I think it was also a 12-year, if I'm not mistaken. I saw one at Total Wine, but it was like $170 or something, and I just turned my head away and was like, I wish I could grab that, but that was just too much.
The Alexander Murray's ones I've had, they're Glen Lassie that was pretty good. I had a Glen Keith that was pretty good, and I think I had another one. They're pretty decent on their independent bottlings. I've noticed they're not like the best, but they're not bad. They're not like the bad ones are like Battle Heel and some of the other ones I've had. Steven's saying he's at a Adelphi 17-year-old 76 Ardbeg First Fill Sherry. I don't even want to know what that costs. That's way out of my freaking league.
I'll put my address in the chat if you want to send that.
Oh man,
that's an amazing part.
I would love to try it, but that's just crazy talk there. Because I was born in '75, man, and I think I find that like I noticed I think he's born in '74 or '73. He was talking about trying to find that perfect bottle for his year, and I think he found an Ardbeg that was like the perfect 73 or 4, whatever his birth year was. What would you pick if you were looking for like your perfect year whiskey?
Oh man, I mean, I'm 81, man.
Which distillery would you go with on that? I'm just curious of like if you were looking for like a vintage bottle.
Darker years for Scotch. I guess I would probably lean on something peated. I'd probably look at like Lefroy Ardbeg Lagavulin. That's probably where I would first gravitate towards.
I'm the same way because you see
Island Park.
You see all the bottles back here.
Yeah.
Oh man, a Lefroy 75. Does that like it has to exist?
Yeah, right. It has to, man. Yeah.
Or an Ardbeg 75.
Dram dude's in the house. What's up, Dram dude?
Hey, California man. He's late to the show, but he's still kicking. Thanks, man, for coming by.
Gary said Springbank hands down. Oh man, Springbank from 1981. Were they? So there was an inactive period for Springbank, if I'm not mistaken. Would that be? I'm not sure if 81 would have fallen in that. I might be wrong about that. But
that's a good question.
An inactive period for their distillery.
Unfortunately, the 80s was really rough for a lot of distilleries. I know.
Yeah, I mean, it was that time and place where the blends were still kind of the gold, and I mean, obviously single malts were not a huge thing, even into the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm going a little ahead of times, but the single malt was definitely not on the market as much in the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Didn't Ardbeg shut down in the 90s, or was it the 80s?
Yeah, it was early 90s.
Early 90s. But you might be okay then. The early 80s might be okay for a lot of that then, I imagine.
Yeah, but with the juice any good, right? That's the thing. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Stephen probably could tell you the best options as far as like which distilleries to look at for that age range. I would try that.
I was always so bummed when that, there's that Ball Blair 83. I wish if it was an 81, I would have probably paid the $500 for it.
Looks like Trooper really liked the cast strength sherry cask NAS. Is that the recent one there?
Okay.
I think that's a recent one they just released as well. I remember he said he was trying to get something new from them. That might have been the one he's talking about. What are you drinking, Dram, by the way? He joined us a little late, so hopefully he's sipping something. I bet I had more whiskeys than you did yesterday. I'm sure you probably did. I've been slowly sipping, buddy. I've been keeping my pace.
For sure. I'm going to go get myself a little extra water, so I'm going to step aside for just a sec, brother. I'll be right back.
All right, man. I'll see you for now. I've got an old bottling of the Balvenie quarter cask Aaron. It's pretty damn nice. Way better than Lefroy Select. There you go. We'll have to definitely take a look at that and see how it goes. Bruna, Tobermory, and Deanston were closed in 82. Wow, Bunnahabhain, man. I didn't know Bunnahabhain was closed in 82. That's really sad. So I'll definitely have to steer him away from those three, even if I know he's a big fan of Bunnahabhain like I am, but maybe go towards the peat if 82 peated is good. We'll have to see about that. Oh, I judged a whiskey awards competition. Had 52 whiskeys. Oh my gosh. It sounds like my adventure when I went up to visit KB and Bob H when I was hanging out with the Scotch for Dummies a couple of years ago. We went through a lot of whiskeys that week. Well, really just 2 days. And it was around that number, believe it or not. Very, very intense. Had a lot of water, at least, though, to go in between. Ooh, and Springbank was closed between 79 and 87. No whiskey for a dram today. Not feeling. I don't blame you there, buddy. We've been. I did a short review of that Taninic 10, 2.5 out of 5. Not that great. And we also looked at the Balvenie 12-year single barrel, 47.8 non-chilled, filtered, first fill bourbon barrel, and really good. 3.75 out of 5 on that one. And let's get get Malt back into it.
Hey.
Yeah, I was talking to them. They were saying that Springbank was closed in that area.
Yeah, that makes. I thought so. They were closed for some a healthy period of time in the 80s.
Bunnahabhain, Tobermory, and Deanston as well. So Bunnahabhain would be a sad, and and Springbank would be sad to lose. But hopefully, with between Lafroig, like you said, Lagavulin and Ardbeg, we could find you a nice 81 or something. 72, that's what it was. One of the better years for Scotch. He wants to get the Glendronach, the Ardbeg, Benefice, Clynelish, Port Ellen. Wow. He doesn't want much, does he? Christ, man. I'd be happy with one of those bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 being rough today. Yes, it was a rough dram. Let's see, it says Glenfarclas also. Were they closed during the 80s? But I know that Malt's not the biggest Glenfarclas fan, so that might not be a big miss for him, really.
Well, let me tell you about Glenfarclas.
Uh-oh.
I probably surprising nobody here who's been on the Scotch journey. The Glenfarclas 25 was one of the first 25. It was the first 25-year-old whiskey I ever bought, with a lot of excitement, because I was like, how is it that I can get this 25-year-old whiskey for $150, and it's from a distillery that gets a lot of respect for like doing things old school, doing things in this family. They do it in a, what do you want to call it, with respectable provenance. Let's just say, they fire all their stills, all that shit. And so with all that in my head, I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be great. It's not. The 25 is honestly, it was pedestrian at best. I would say for like $120, it's solid whiskey. I think that there are actually younger Glenfarclases that are better than the 25.
Oh wow!
But I do want to like put that PSA out, just so like folks who are maybe at that point in their journey where they can avoid the same mistake of the allure of the price and of their story, which makes you think you're going to get a high quality malt. I'm not saying that they don't make good whiskey, but what I'm saying is like, I think the casks were pretty tired. I think it just doesn't really deliver. Once you have another 25 from another distillery, you're going to find yourself probably saying that Glenfarclas 25 really wasn't much.
Yeah, I've got the 17 back here. The 17, remembering back to 17, I might have liked it even more than the 25, but it's hard to remember. It's been a long time ago since I've looked at that one.
Yeah, and like, so the thing about it is, one sec, I got to respond to Steven. He sent great info about anyways, the thing about it is, it's one of those whiskeys. What really surprised me is Ralphie, who we all know and love, did a review of it recently where he was singing the praises of the Glenfarclas 25. And I was wondering, was like, did he get a good bottle? Like, is there some year of the bottle that he got from this that was really good? Because I'll tell you, I didn't think it was great. Like, I didn't expect great for $150, but I expected really good. I didn't. To me, it was rather pedestrian. And I wouldn't buy it again.
Yeah.
I was bummed about it because I thought, oh man, I'm getting a great deal from it. Now, this was earlier in the year. So like nowadays, and this is why I bring it up, I'd say you see that Glenfarclas 25, you're going to feel that pull. You're like, oh man, 25-year-old whiskey, Glenfarclas does things right. Yeah, it's only 43%, but Glenfarclas has got this like mystique to them about how they like do all the stuff the old school way for the most part. They direct fire their stills. I'm telling you, it just falls short, even at 150.
I had mixed reviews on it. When the first go around, I had it really early on in my whiskey journey, and it was because of the price, same as you guys. I think I was not lucky. I don't think it was under $200 at the time. I think it might have been at the cheapest, maybe $150. Some of these guys are saying he got it for like $125, and it's worth the price, but not worth the big money. And I guess if I would have felt better if I did get it at the $125, $150 range, but I want to say it was like $2-ish. I liked it better in the beginning because I do like the sulfuric piece you get out of the Glenfarclases, and it is kind of reminds me of Benevis and Glenturret and Some Macallans have that really nice sulfuric note, but
Yeah, I mean the 25 was like kind of flat and boring to me. Like it didn't have the complexity I would expect. What I did have a chance to sample the Glenfarclas 17, which I thought was better.
yeah, that's the one I have back here is the 17. But I was lucky enough to get my hands. I can't remember which one. Stephen might be able to say which one it was, but Stephen had a family cask. I don't remember the year statement on it. I think it was 20 or 23. That was a good dram because it reminded me of a Glendronach. I actually we were trying to guess at what the distillery was and what the region and all that was, and I went towards Glendronach in that type of deal. Ended up being the Glenfarclas, but that family cask was not bad, and I think some of those family casks towards the entry level aren't that bad price wise. So maybe
yeah, they're just so hard to find. But I'm totally with you. Like I liked the Glenfarclas 12. I thought was really solid. I just didn't think the 25 was. I would love to try any of the family casks. But again, like those are like a little bit hard to find. But man, yeah, I'm totally with it. Yeah, Cohen, you're totally right. I've heard good things about the 17. I've only got to try it once, and I did think it was better than the 25. But
if you and I were going to go on one, I would recommend that we try to find a nice entry-level family cast series. I bet you will both probably appreciate it more. I just want to make sure it's at least 20 years if we can get it at a reasonable price and see what we go from there maybe.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a lot of fun.
There's so many we want to get. I was talking to Malt about maybe going in a couple bottles. One that would be nice to go in on at some point might be like that Brook Lottie Black Arts. Like that would be a one that I would love to get my teeth around like a newer version. But I don't know. Is the 7.1, 8.1 stuff? Is it near as good as the 4.1? Probably not, but.
Yeah, might be worth trying. I also do have the 4.1, and I could, I would love to send you a sample of the 4.1 if you've not had it, and we could do that.
I've had it before a long time ago, but I was just thinking if we were going to review a Brook Lottie, that might be a really good one to do outside of the maybe like an aged Octomore might be interesting. I'm not sure. It's kind of tough because they got so many options.
Right.
A 15-year-old first fill sherry. Oh, he's talking about that Glenfarclas we had. A 15-year-old first fill sherry. That was actually reminded me of a Glendronach. That was really good. So I think if you're going to do a Glenfarclas, you might want to save up. And do you mind telling us what the price on that was, Stephen? I'm just curious if it was like. Hopefully, it wasn't over a couple hundred, but I have a bad feeling it probably was because it was really damn good. The 7.1 is awesome with the Octomores. I've had that one, and it is good, but I want to get I know they got some aged 10-year-old stuff that's available now. That would be fun to maybe do.
Yeah, man. I mean, the world's the oyster, right? Like, we can definitely find a bunch of stuff.
Glengoyne cast strength is pretty damn sweet. That's true. I do like Glengoynes are usually kind of thin, but the cast strength stuff is pretty good, I have to say.
Yeah, and I have a bottle of the 25 we could totally taste at some point too.
Oh yeah, the Glengoyne. Oh my God, I would kill to actually have a taste of. I've had the 21 and the 18, and I liked both of them, but I've heard the 25 is like the shiznit because the ABV is so much better.
Yeah, 48. It's 48, at least here in the States. And some folks were saying that maybe the 23 or the 21 was 48 in Canada, but it's 43 here.
Yeah, it's very low here.
And I didn't love the 18, so I hit pause on that. Well, Teapot, I do have the Teapot 7, which is freaking awesome.
I think he's talking about the availability. It's a tough one unless you order it online.
Yeah. And they're super hard to get.
Did you order yours online as well?
Really good. Maybe we could do the Teapot sometime.
Did you order yours as well online?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen Glengoyne's the 10, 12, 15, 17, 18, whatever, 21, even up to the 25 if you're lucky, but usually they cut it off at 21. The 10 through 21s are usually easy to find, but the cast strength and the teapots and the specialized ones are really tough to find.
Honestly, the best release I think of Glengoyne that I've had outside of the teapot and the 25 is the 15. I've had the 12. I have a 10, which I haven't opened yet. 12 was okay. The 18 I thought was kind of a disappointment. I mean, it's solid, but it's a disappointment. It was disappointing compared to what I expected. I have not messed with the 21, mostly because the Glengoyne 21 was like 43%. It was like 180, 170 bucks. I was like, it just didn't sing to me after the experience with the 18, especially when you can get something like the Enoch 24.
Oh yeah, that's a hell of a price.
Is a unicorn.
Definitely get the Enoch 24 if you guys ever see it, because it's definitely the cheapest you're ever going to see it for any time soon. The Glenfarclas Family Cast 15-year-old, he said, was $280 to $300 shipped, but it's a very highly rated one. That's pretty cool. I'll have to keep my eyes out on a family cask that we might want to get and see. That would be fun to try. Which 21-year-old are you talking about, DH? I'm curious. Very boring, very bad. It was nearly clear, and it was all sherry finish. That's scary. I wonder if he's talking about the. Was that a Glenfarclas? Did they have a 21? I know they have a.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
25. Huh.
Yeah, there's a 21 Glenfarclas.
I wonder if he's talking about that. Maybe. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, there's a Glenfarclas 21.
The 21 is all sherry. It's very similar to the 25 in flavor. Okay. Well, definitely skip the 21 Glenfarclas, it sounds like, too. Yeah. That's really wild. The 93 Glenfarclas Family Cast. That sounds good. I was a junior in high school in 93. It's crazy. Good times.
Time flies.
Smashing Pumpkins was my band back in the day, man.
Oh, yeah. I actually saw them 2 years ago. They did a reunion tour with 3 of the 4 original members. They played across the river in Jersey. It was awesome.
I can imagine. I saw them. It was on their Zeitgeist tour, which was with Ginger Pooley, Virgin Festival. It was, I'm trying to remember what year, probably 2005-ish. It was a good show. They thankfully did a lot of their older stuff. Like Rhinoceros is one of my favorite songs by them off the first album. It's
man, hell yeah.
And I love Siamese Dream and even Melancholy. I even like some of their new stuff. They got back thankfully with Jimmy Chamberlain and James Zia. Yeah, and they're still kicking. They still have some good stuff. Maybe not as good or favorites as.
Yeah, it's not Cherub Rock, but you know.
Yeah, it's like it's
God, or like what's man? I'm forgetting the name. What was that first album of theirs?
Gish was the first one.
Yeah. Oh man, Gish is so good.
Siamese Dream, that area was my favorite.
Siamese Dream is one of the best albums in the '90s, hands down. It's not even close. I'm with you on that. I loved all that stuff.
93 Family Cast. The finish was all this funky Farkless, but it wasn't enjoyable. I don't know. I mean, I don't mind the funkiness. I like a lot of sulfuric notes if it's balanced well. Like Ben Nevis has got really good. Ben Nevis has got the best sulfuric balance with the sweetness and the savory notes. Yeah, as Steven's saying, the spirit is just, man, needs a good active sherry cask to shine. No, I agree with you. I'll have to wait to find that really well-reviewed family cask to find that perfect one to get for us.
Ben Nevis is, I mean, you've had the Ben Nevis 10. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about an indie release?
Ben Nevis 10, and I had, I'm trying to think of the other Ben Nevis. I've had another one. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was the independent bottling. It was really, really well done. Same really nice sulfuric notes with the funk with the sherry and the fruit and whatnot.
Sure.
Santa Cruz and Santa Enoch 22 is pretty decent stuff. Opened it for the holidays last year, so I did try it. Wow. I mean, I have the 24 back here, and I got it for like $225. I want to say, is that about the price you got it for? Was $225?
Yeah, right around there. That's special, man. That 24 is something else.
I didn't know they had a 22. If it was a distillery bottle, I wonder if it was an older one, if it was like.
If that was like one of the ones they discontinued a couple years back, I'm not sure. Maybe Santa Cruz can let us know.
Because I'm curious, because I've had you've had their 12 or 14 in like the entry level too, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in the next couple of weeks going to do a full review of the 12, 18, and 24.
Oh, nice. Wow.
I have all three of them open right now. I quite enjoy all three of them. I think the 24 is clearly like the one that shines. But the 12 I think is awesome too.
24 replaced the 22. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, I only paid 109 for the 22. Isn't that crazy? That's the way it should be, though. I wish prices would go back to like the way they were back in the 90s.
Hell, 5 years ago.
Whenever whiskey wasn't astronomically too crazy high for what it is, yeah. I'm sure tariffs aren't helping all this crap either. Kills me with these tariffs, man.
Henry just said mixing Lefroy Select soda makes a great weed killer.
Cheers to that.
What is your bong water, man? We should use
bong water, yeah. That's
weed killer in more than one sense right there. That's funny, man.
I'm gonna kill off my Aaron 21. It was a good bottle, man. That was really, really good. I think you enjoyed a lot of that one too, didn't you?
Yeah, I definitely did. I was impressed.
I've been sipping. This has been my favorite, like, go-to sipper for the last week. That's why I already emptied the bottle because it was that good.
Yeah, no, that was a quality pour. That was, what was the specs on that? 46. I know it was 46. I know it's non-chill in that color, but I'm pretty sure it was 46%, right?
Yeah, 46%, 21 years, no chill filtering, natural color, and a really nice bourbon. Like a bourbon cask. I think there was some sherry in there too. I have to go back and look to make sure. But I think it had both. Let me do a quick look-see here. This is the new one, not the old one. They had an older one. This is ex-sherry casks for the 21. So, yeah, the limited edition before, I think, was both ex-sherry and ex-bourbon. So I never had the classic limited edition 21, but I've heard good things about it from, different reviews. But never had my own, sadly.
Aaron 21. Now, do you know if they have any older releases than that?
I don't think that they have on their new core line. I think that was the top. Let me do a quick new logo, new bottle design, packaging was a big thing. I know that they did. Let me accept the terms here and go into their 10 barrel reserve quarter cask, the one that you mentioned that we might take a look at, and sherry casks is like their entry stuff that they offer. And then they also have the let's see. So they start out with the 10, the sherry, the quarter, and the barrel reserve. Let me see if they have limited editions, blends, whatnot. Let me see something here. Single malts. 10, barrel, quarter, 18. That's the
loudest mouse I've ever heard.
21. Emerald cask finish. That's one thing I've never had. It's supposed to be like a cherry Turkish delight chocolate type of thing. But has anyone ever had an Emerald? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but Emerald cask finish before? It's a nice color. It's really like a deep crimson red looking color, and it's not colored at all. They have a port cask, a Sauternes cask, a Robert Burns single malt, which is like a vanilla cinnamon deal. But it looks like all their new stuff is the highest is the 21 is the oldest they have. They do have an 18 and a 10. I'm surprised they dropped the 12 and the 14 and the 16 type stuff, but I guess it was because they had all these other experimental ones they wanted to do, maybe.
Ben Demon Hunter said you were highly recommending Anok 12 in July. Yes. I did a live tasting of the 12, 18, and 24. I'm going to do full reviews of them soon. Yeah, man, I think the Anok 12 is great. It's a little challenging, but awesome. It's got a heavy minerality to it. 46%, non-chill filtered. It's a great 12-year. It flies under the radar. Definitely check it out. It's right up your alley. One other thing, man, and Telex, before we head off for the night, I gotta mention this because I'm not sure if this one has come on your radar yet, and I'd love to hear if anybody in the chat has heard about this. Kilhoman just released here in the States a whiskey called the Amberach. And this whiskey is basically a special release that was a mistake that the distiller made where they accidentally put some of their port wine stuff into the Mocker Bay. And so it's a Mocker Bay essentially with port and sherry finish. I think they've done there's like a couple thousand bottles of it.
I did hear about that.
This might be something we got to get our hands on, man.
I think my guys, my friend Tom runs Petite Cellars up north a little bit from me in Ellicott City. I'm going to have to ring him up because I am in the middle of trying to get us a couple bottles. And instead of that Akantosha 21, maybe I'll circumvent that with the that Kilhoman that you just mentioned.
Has anybody else seen this or tried this yet? I think it came out in July, but
yeah,
it's kind of interesting, man. Kind of a double finish to some degree.
Let me take a quick look at Distiller is really good usually about getting some of these new bottles out. Let me see if they have any.
And Demon Hunter said that Kilhoman is a huge hit with a few friends of mine. If you guys already have one, okay, and that's in Canada, so I mean it might be around the States.
Here we go. They've got 4 tastes so far, and it's kind of a mixed bag. They have one guy gave it a 3.25. They have one guy that gave it a 5 out of 5. One guy gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and one guy gave it a 3.75 out of 5. So it's kind of like across the board, it looks like.
Okay.
Here's some of the notes. The nose was smoky bacon campfire, a very light hint of berries and cream, although you have to search for this on the nose. It's more of a glance after you sniff the glass. The palate was like a frazzled crisps, whatever the hell that means, burnt toast, caramelized apples, and
little rock action going on.
Kids Sweeties, the cheap penny tray kind. This guy must be British. Port really comes out in the finish, still peaty and a little salty. This is a little bit of a mongrel as you taste it. You keep picking out more layers and different tastes, all of which are nicely layered. It has peat and salt and adds a character, but the water kills the taste completely. It dulls almost all layers. I wonder how much water he used, and leaves the peat and campfire notes out. Out of 6 drams on the tasting, this achieved 25% of the vote of favorite, which made it joint first place. But the common consensus was that all 6 were really too close to call. So it sounds like this guy was tasting it at like a group tasting.
Okay.
But it looks like out of what I'm seeing, it's worth a try. It's ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, and ex-port. It's got to be at least interesting. Man. I think I'll try to find us a bottle of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, anytime we can try a new Kilhoman, right? I also have a single cask sherry that we could crack into.
Oh, nice. Okay. What'd you say?
I said I also have a Kilhoman single cask sherry we could kick into at some point.
That would be cool. That's one that
how old it is, but should be a decent amount.
The only single cask I've had of theirs was a bourbon. It was a Country Vintners single cask bourbon. It was
yeah, I remember that.
It was outstanding, but I wanted to try their Impex sherry cask ones. I didn't pull the trigger yet though, so that would be a good one. Yeah, he was saying that it's a huge hit with the friends that he had there. It looks like
that's awesome, man. That's good to know. Pilgrim.
Trying to see if that would be Anthony Wills. Yeah, he's no joke, man. That guy's the one that started Kilhoman. Did he go Ralphie water crazy? Yeah. I was wondering when he talked about the water, he couldn't handle the water. I'm like, what's the ABV? The ABV on this is like, it's got to be pretty high. It's 46%. Maybe that's why.
Yeah,
it's like 46. It's 10,550 bottles were created. 1350 for the U.S. only, though. So interesting. I guarantee you, though, if my guy's got a bottle of this, because my guy, thankfully, is really good about getting Kilhoman bottles. So I think we have a good chance of getting our hands on it. I'll call him up tomorrow and see what I can do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Right on, man.
Good morning.
Well, we're getting close to that 11 hour. I just mentioned we Telex and I next week are going to check out the MRC01.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do the Brooklotti PC. I'm sorry, MRC01. I can't even say it.
Yeah, we'll check that one out, and maybe we can figure out a way to do both. We can do that with the Lefroy. I don't know. I mean, we can do 2 in one night. We'll see.
Oh yeah,
we'll definitely do the MRC01. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's funny because I was sitting back thinking, like, with all the samples that we were doing, I wonder if we could get away with doing a couple, and this would be a good test. We'll try to do both of those, and then the next time we come together, maybe we'll try to do one that's kind of off the wall, like either the Blazda or the Elisa Bay or something, and then one that's like also one that's like a run-of-the-mill 12-year-old that everybody can get their hands on and see. We'll have to talk about it offline and see what.
Yeah, we'll do that for sure, man.
Which one you want to do, 12-year-old wise, and or 15 or whatever, just something like kind of basic and entry level that a lot of these guys get their hands on easily without ordering online if they can help it.
Yeah, definitely. I think like figuring out a way that we can, we'll spend some time taking some accessible stuff and then maybe something a little special. And how's that sound to y'all?
I'm looking forward to both of those. I'm a huge Brooklotti fan, peat and non-peat. I mean, they do a good job across the board, as well as Lefroy. It'll be interesting to see an independent Lefroy that's a 12-year-old cast strength at 46. I mean, it sounds pretty.
Well, yeah, single cast, not cast strength, single cast.
Sorry about that. Let me remark this then before I.
According to the bottle, it's single cask. It's 46%, so it's kind of a lower ABV for a single cask. But yeah, it's single cask.
Don't forget, though, they do have lower ABVs at cast strength. Like I had a Highland Park 25 that was a cast strength that was only at about 48%. So it can happen on occasion. It's rare, but I think it depends on the year, maybe.
That's a good point.
It probably has to be pretty old for it to at 12 years. Yeah, you would think it'd be higher than 46 if it was going to be cast strength. That's true. Thanks a lot for the feedback, Trooper. We really appreciate it. We're looking forward to doing more and more. And if you guys have anything that you want us to do on the side in the future, definitely send us an email. I can be reached at telex@outlook.com.
I'm malt.muser@gmail.
Yeah, and let us know if you have something in mind that you were like, I always like to see a review in this, and it's good to give a couple people's perspective of things. Cause,
no matter what it is. Yeah.
Because one of us might love it, one of us might not like it so much. I don't think one of us will hate something and not like something, hate-like type thing. But I think you'll see that one of us at least will like it, and one of us might, really dig it, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely, man. It'll be fun.
Yeah, thanks again, man. You did a great job of finding this Balvenie 12 single barrel. I'm gonna have to get maybe if I'm looking for like a fruit bomb with little vanilla and nice notes, especially for people that are new to Scotch. This is like the perfect, I think, offering to have, on the side to offer to some friends.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think it's like. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was thinking about you when I picked it out because I figured it was something that would be. It's both bourbony, which I know will challenge you a little bit, but it has some of those kind of unexpected Scotch notes, and so I think it's a good challenging whiskey at a good price. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and it was fun to sample this with everybody tonight. Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to getting a nice bottle, not the 21 it sounds like, but another Balvenie that we can sink our teeth into that's on the higher end.
Definitely. Let's do it.
Hopefully we don't have to go all the way to the tune, but hopefully we can find something that's a 20-something that appeals to the distillery.
Yeah, definitely. Right on.
All right. Well, thanks so much for stopping by, everybody. We really appreciate it. We'll be back, like we said, with both the Lefroy 12 single cast, 46% high grove, and the Brooklotti PC MRC01.
Gotta say it, man. Good to see everybody, and hit like on the video if you enjoyed the show tonight. We do definitely appreciate your support. Take a second, subscribe to Telex the Whisky Chat, subscribe to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews, and if you're feeling generous, hit me up on patreon.com/Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews, and we're going to keep it going. We appreciate you all very much, and everybody stay safe, be well. We'll catch you next Tuesday for Tasty Tuesday with Telex and the Malt.
Yep. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate you. Sláinte.
Sláinte.